Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Konoha regrets banishing Naruto from the academy. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Shinigami-shane and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1, Konoha, Naruto's Banishment. After Naruto returned to Konoha after defeating Pain, he got ordered to head straight to where all of the injured were being healed to have the medics heal him if necessary by Danzo. Naruto said to the old man, I'm fine, really Sage Mode heals my injuries really fast, and as you probably know the Ninetales heals me as well. Danzo thought to himself, Sage Mode, damn him, that bloody demon kid has become a sage just like that, and Jiraiya, I definitely need to get rid of him now. I know, Danzo then said. To Naruto, I know that, it's just standard procedure you see. Naruto said, oh, alright then. See ya. Then Naruto walked off to where he knew Sakura was. 5 minutes later, Danzo arrived at where the other council members should have been. When he got there, he found only rubble from Naruto's blast when he had transformed into the Kyuubi. Danzo smiled and said, at last, I finally have legal grounds to get rid of him. After all this time, he scoffed at what he was about to say. I must say it is kind of ironic that it happened as he was trying to save everyone. Oh well, time to get rid of the demon. Danzo then called one of his rude members and told them to call the clan heads. When the clan heads had arrived, Danzo started to speak when Hayashi Hyuga interrupted him, saying, what have you called us here for? Danzo replied, now, I truly am sorry for what I am about to say. Inoichi said, I doubt that. Danzo said, nevertheless, we must banish Naruto Uzumaki. Shikaku Nara said, why? It's clear that he's just saved the entire village from being destroyed, and it is common knowledge that you have always wanted to get rid of him. Danzo said, now, calm down. I am suggesting this as an alternative punishment to what would normally be meted out. The head of the Aburame clan said, what do you mean? Danzo replied, unfortunately in his desperation to defend the village when he transformed into that nightmare from almost 2 decades age, he killed the other council members. At that statement, all of the clan heads looked between each other and started murmuring about his statement. When Shikamaru came looking for his father to tell him that everyone in the village that died had for some reason come back to life and saw all of the clan heads in one place, he asked his father, what's going on, Dad? His father answered, Naruto is going to be banished for killing the council members. Shikamaru replied, why? Everybody is coming back to life. Shikaku said to his son, look over where everybody is looking. Nothing could return if their entire being was destroyed. Shikamaru said, you know that Tsunade will never agree to such a thing, right? Shikaku said, I think she might. After all, normally the punishment for killing even one of the High Council would be death, and he killed 2. Shikamaru sighed and said, I see, fine, do you mind if I tell him then? Shikaku turned to the gathered clan heads and said, do any of you mind if my son tells Naruto about what is happening? When nobody disagreed, he turned to his son and said, alright, go ahead. I don't think that anyone here except the old warhawk over there would want to tell him anything of the sort, especially after what he just did. Shikamaru said thanks. While the meeting was taking place, Naruto had arrived at the medical center and walked to where Tsunade and Sakura were and said, I'm back. Sakura rushed to him and hugged him and immediately proceeded to inspect him for any injuries that he may have taken. When she was done, she sighed and said, you're just as healthy as usual. At this point, Shikamaru entered the tent and said, that's good, he'll need to be. At that statement, everyone turned to him and Sakura asked, why is that? Shikamaru sighed and with a voice filled with regret said, Naruto, you've been banished. Naruto felt as if the ground had just crumbled away under him and started stuttering, BBB ban. Sakura, full of rage, said, banished? Why, on whose orders? Shikamaru said, all of the clan heads. Apparently he somehow killed 2 of the council members. According to my dad, killing even one of them carries the death penalty. Sakura sighed and said, is that so? Naruto by now had processed the situation, said, well then, I suppose that they must punish me some way. Sakura said, Naruto will find some way to fight this ruling. Naruto sighed and said, don't bother. I'd be no Konoha shinobi if I asked anyone to break the rules entirely just for me. Sakura said, Naruto. Shikamaru said, well, you better get away right now. After all, now that you have been banished, there is a time limit of 3 days for you to get out of the land of fire. Naruto said, right. Well then, I'll be on my way. Sakura, Tsunade, see ya later. Naruto and Shikamaru then left the tent, and then Naruto turned to Shikamaru and said, if I remember the banishment rules correctly, 1 shinobi of Chunin rank or higher is to accompany any exiled shinobi to the border, am I right? Shikamaru said, yeah, that right? Naruto said, well, come on then. Shikamaru said, okay. Then the 2 of them walked to what was left of the gates of Konoha and then took to the trees. 2 days later at the border, Shikamaru turned to Naruto and said, so, what are you going to do now? Naruto said, don't know really. Guess I'll go to check out my bridge. Shikamaru asked, what do you mean your bridge? Naruto, who had walked a few meters away by this time, turned his head and said, ask Sakura, she'll know. Shikamaru said, fine then. How troublesome, see ya. Both of them then went their separate ways. 1.5 days after Shikamaru and Naruto parted ways in Konoha, Kiba, Ino, Hinata, Neji and Sakura had packed their gear to go after Naruto and bring him back to Konoha and were meeting at the gates where they had been intercepted by Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, and Tsunade. Tsunade said to the group, and where do you think that you're going? Sakura said, we're going to find Naruto. Tsunade sighed and said, don't you remember what he said before he left? Sakura said, he said, what kind of Konoha shinobi would I be if I asked others to completely break the rules just for me, or something along those lines. Tsunade said, and yet you still want to go after him? Kakashi said, you know what he wants more than anything, right? Sakura said, to protect his precious people. Kakashi said, and just what do you think will happen if you leave the village right now? Shikamaru, who had arrived just in time to hear the conversation, said you would all be considered as traitors and sentenced to death upon your return. Tsunade said, right. And do you think that would make him the least bit impressed or happy? Hinata said, no, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade sighed and said, look, we all feel just as strongly about the way he's been treated as you all do. The fact is that unfortunately if he sets foot anywhere near Konoha he will have a death sentence on him. That damn Danzo thought everything through this time. Shikamaru said, Sakura. Kakashi, I'd like to talk to you later if that's alright. Sakura asked, why's that? Shikamaru said, tell you later. Sakura said, alright. The rest of the gathered shinobi left except for Tsunade and Shikamaru. When they were alone, Tsunade turned to Shikamaru and said, alright, what did he say? Shikamaru said, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. When Shikamaru felt Tsunade gathering chakra to her fist, he quickly said, although on second thoughts there might be a way to find out later on. Tsunade said, thought there might be. Shikamaru sighed, scratched his head and said, troublesome. Is there anything that you want me to do while I am still here? Tsunade said, yeah, sure thing, you are now promoted to Jounin. Shikamaru's shock stuttered, JJ Jounin. This is a joke, right? Tsunade said no. Shikamaru, still in shock, asked why? Tsunade said, you'll need such a rank to be able to command others of equal rank whilst we are rebuilding Konoha. Shikamaru said, right, so I'll be seeing you later, right? Tsunade said, yeah. 7 hours later, Kakashi, Tsunade and Sakura were gathered in Team 7's training area and were waiting for Shikamaru to arrive, and Sakura said to Kakashi, I wonder what he's doing now. Kakashi said, I imagine that he is depressed about what happened. Sakura turned to Tsunade and said, you don't think that he'd take his own life, do you? At this point Shikamaru arrived and said, I doubt it. Sakura turned at the sound of his voice and said, Shikamaru, so what did he tell you to tell us? Shikamaru replied, he actually didn't tell me to tell you anything. The three shinobi that were gathered looked at Shikamaru like he had grown another head or something. Seeing the way that they were looking at him, said, although he did tell me that he was going to check out his bridge, whatever that means. Sakura turned to Kakashi and said, you don't think he means? Kakashi sighed and said, yeah. Shikamaru looked at them and said, can you let me in on the secret, please? Kakashi said, on our first mission outside Konoha when we were still Team 7 was to the country of Wave, and we ended fighting Zabuza, the demon of the mist. Shikamaru said, yeah, and? Sakura said, the bridge builder was so impressed by Naruto's desire to never give up that they named the damn bridge after him. Shikamaru said, I was wondering how the great Naruto bridge got its name. Tsunade said, so you think he's gone there then? Kakashi said, Will Zabuza and his assistant did have a great impact on Naruto, and so it's likely that he's going there to see if it's worth going on. Sakura said, Haku was the first person to show Naruto that protecting someone important to you may involve sacrifice. Shikamaru sighed and said, well then, what are you going to do about this, Tsunade? Kakashi said, well, we all want to go and find out what his plans are, right? Sakura said, yes, of course. Kakashi said, well then, why don't we have Tsunade assign us a mission to the Wave Country then? Shikamaru said, well, for starters I can't go because Tsunade here dumped the rebuilding of Konoha onto my shoulders too. Sakura, you and Tsunade can't go either, as you both specialize in medical ninjutsu. Kakashi said, which leaves me? Shikamaru said, I'd send Hinata as well. Tsunade said, why? Shikamaru said, why? Because then you can disguise the mission as political in nature. Tsunade said, alright, consider it done. Kakashi, you and Hinata are to leave for the Wave Country immediately. Kakashi said, understood. Shikamaru turned to Sakura and seeing the sadness on her face said, come on, you're needed here more than anything else. Sakura said, I know, I really do. Shikamaru said, but you still want to go? Sakura said, yeah. Shikamaru said, well, you know that you'd be branded a traitor if you went outside the village now. Sakura said, yeah, well, I'll just ask for some time off after everything is taken care of here. Shikamaru said, now that is more like what Naruto would want you to do. Chapter 2, Konoha, Sasuke's Return, Naruto's Revenge. 2 days after Naruto had left Shikamaru at the border of the Fire Country, he ran into Sasuke's team Taka. Naruto, Sasuke, are you here to try and take me back to Konoha again? No. Sasuke asked, well then what are you doing here? Naruto replied, Konoha just got destroyed, and in the middle of trying to save all of the inhabitants I transformed into that blasted thing and destroyed the building that 2 of the council members were in. Karen said, that still doesn't explain what you are doing here though. Sasuke said, yes it does. Doesn't it, Naruto? Naruto said, yeah. Jugo asked, how? Sasuke said, in Konoha the punishment for killing one of the council members is death. So imagine what it is for killing 2. Karen said, well, if that is the case then why is he here? Sasuke said, I would assume that it would be because he has saved Konoha multiple times in the past, that he saved the rest of Konoha's population this time, and Tsunade somehow convinced the rest of the council and the clan heads to agree to a lesser penalty. That about right, Naruto? Naruto said, almost. Karen said, almost? What do you mean? Naruto said, it was Danzo. At this Sasuke's eyebrows creased into a frown and said, Danzo, as in the head of ANBU's Root Division? Naruto said, yeah. How do you know about him? Sasuke said, he's the bastard that ordered the extermination of the Uchihas. Naruto said, that doesn't really surprise me. Karen said, why not? Naruto said, well, Tsunade said that he fought the third for the position of Hokage, and he apparently vehemently disagreed with the third's teachings. Come to think of it, my banishment, while on the surface looks as if it is an act of kindness for past services, could be his way of trying to manipulate the council to appoint him Hokage. Suigetsu said, I thought that Tsunade was Hokage? Naruto said she's been in a coma for a while. Shizen and Sakura don't know when she will wake up, and knowing the rest of the council and the clan heads, they will want someone in the position as soon as possible. Come to think of it, when I was in Sage mode I felt a large amount of chakra sources underground. Karen said what? Sasuke said Sage mode? I thought that only Jiraiya was the only one that could enter that state. Naruto replied well, I undertook the same training as Jiraiya at the Myobokuzen Mountains. Sasuke said so, who's the strongest that would still be in Konoha at the moment? Naruto said well, there are probably 3 or 4 people that could be considered the strongest. Sojetsu eagerly asked really? Who? Naruto said I was just getting to that. Well, there's Kakashi, although they will probably send him after me. Sakura, if you tell her that you're getting your revenge, both for your clan and me. Tsunade never trusted Danzo in the first place, and add that onto the mission that we met you on, and she'll probably not get in your way. Don't expect her to help though, she'll likely be working in the medical center that'll have been set up. Then there is Sai. Sasuke said who's Sai? Naruto said I think you met him on that mission that I was talking about before. If that snake bastard didn't tell you, he's from the Root division of ANBU and your replacement on Team Kakashi. You might want to watch out for him. All I really know about him is that he uses ink to fight. Sasuke said my replacement? Naruto said yeah, teams are made up of 4 people remember. Sasuke said so, what are you going to do now? Naruto replied well, right now I'm going to go to the Wave Country to say hi to an old friend and an old enemy. Then after that I'm thinking of going to Suna. Sasuke said Suna huh, why? Naruto said well, I heard that they had a few wind masters there. Then I think that I'll start searching for my mother. Karen asked who is she? Naruto said Kushina Uzumaki. Karen said alright, I'll have a look around Root's records to see if there is any information about her there. Naruto said thanks. Karen blushed and said no problem, I'll meet you in Suna to tell you what I found out. Naruto said well then, see you later. Oh, by the way, Shikamaru got put in charge of the rebuilding of Konoha. Sojetsu said so what? Sasuke said to himself that could throw a wrench into our plans. Jugo asked how? Sojetsu said yeah, how? I mean everything that you've told us about him says that he's one of the weakest shinobi in Konoha? Naruto said weakest in traditional strength maybe. But his intelligence more than makes up for that, doesn't it Sasuke? Sasuke said yes it does. Sojetsu asked how so? Naruto said he formulated a plan to take on 2 Akatsuki members, took out one of them by himself, and at the same time assisted Kakashi and myself in dealing with the other one. Karen said I see, so he may be the most troublesome one in the entire village then? Naruto said yeah. He really is a force to be reckoned with. Sasuke said well then, thanks for the update on the current situation Naruto. Naruto said no problem. Anything to get back at that damn bastard Danzo. Okay, well then, I'm off to the Wave Country now. See ya. Sasuke said yeah bye. Karen said see you in Suna. Sojetsu and Jugo remained silent as Naruto started to walk away from them. When Naruto was out of sight, Sojetsu turned to Karen and said so, now you want to ravish a sage? Huh? In reply to Sojetsu's statement, Karen formed some hand seals for a lightning jutsu, and when her entire arm was covered with electricity she punched Sojetsu. At the same time however she was thinking to herself no, it would probably be the other way around. Sasuke said are you 2 done now? Karen said yes. Sojetsu said shocking ain't it? Karen sarcastically said ha, ha. Sasuke said good, time to get going to Konoha then, Jugo said finally. With that the 4 of them started walking in the direction that Naruto had just come from. Meanwhile in Konoha, Kakashi and Hinata had met up at the gates of Konoha and were about to set off when Tsunade came up to Kakashi and said it might be of some interest for you to know that Minato kept a house in Kirigakure. Kakashi said that's good to know. Ah well, see ya. With that said he and Hinata started walking out of the construction zone that Konoha had become. 1 hour later Hinata turned to Kakashi and asked who was this Minato person that Tsunade-sama was talking about. Kakashi looked at Hinata, paused for a minute and then said well, he could probably be described many ways. One would be my sensei. Hinata interrupted saying who was that? Kakashi said I was getting to that part. Another would be as Jiraiya's apprentice. Hinata interrupted once again saying but I thought that Naruto-kun was Jiraiya's apprentice. Kakashi said you're even more impatient than Naruto aren't you? Hinata blushed at being compared to Naruto, especially in such a way. Kakashi then continued saying but the way that you probably know him is probably as the Yondaime Hokage. Hinata said you were taught by the Yondaime? Kakashi smiled, scratched the back of his head and said yeah. Hinata said well, what is his relation to Naruto-kun then? Kakashi said did you ever see the photo of the 4th that was in the Hokage's office? Hinata said yeah, what of it? Kakashi said and you still need to ask? Hinata said well, I suppose that if you got rid of the hot whisker marks on Naruto-kun's face they could almost pass for father and son. Kakashi said what do you mean almost? When Hinata had processed what Kakashi had just said she fainted. Kakashi said to the unconscious Hyuga well, I suppose that this is as good a time as any to take a break. 30 minutes later Hinata woke up, looked at Kakashi and said so, does Naruto-kun know of his lineage? Kakashi said I don't really know, he may have figured it out on his own. Jiraiya may have told him in the time that they spent together. Or on the other hand he may have no clue about it at all. Hinata asked what do you think that his reaction would be if he found out? Kakashi asked found out what? Hinata said that the cause of all the problems that he has faced in his life was caused by his own father? Kakashi said well, I would imagine that his first reaction would in a lack of being able to have access to the Yondaime would be to create a clone, make it Henjin to the 4th and punch it in the head, or the stomach. Hinata smiled and said probably. Kakashi said well, I suppose that that's all academic for the time being. Anyway, it's time to get going, I think. Hinata said yeah. I'm sorry for the delay. They then stood up and took to the trees. Back with Team Taka, Sasuke was saying we now need to take a different route to Konoha. Suigetsu asked why? Wasn't it your idea to take the most direct route there? Sasuke said because with what Naruto just told us it is likely that Kakashi and whoever is with him will likely be coming this way, and I don't know about you but I'd rather face Danzo and whoever else we may have to fight, not being exhausted from fighting Kakashi. Suigetsu with great reluctance said guess you've got a point there. Sasuke said good, now then, we will now be approaching Konoha from the direction of the rice country. Suigetsu said whoa, hold on a minute, you want to approach Konoha of all places from the direction of where the Sound Village was? Sasuke said yes. Suigetsu said this may seem like a weird question to you, but isn't approaching Konoha from that direction a bad idea? Karen said how dare you question Sasuke. Sasuke said calm down Karen, no it's not. They will not be expecting any kind of attacks now and certainly not from the direction of a village that got destroyed years ago. Suigetsu said oh okay then. Jugo said Sasuke-san, the birds are telling me that 2 people are headed this way. Sasuke said let's get on our way. All 3 of Sasuke's comrades said hi. All 4 members of Team Taka then jumped to the tops of the trees and took off in the direction of the rice country. Meanwhile Naruto was jumping through the trees on his way to the country of Wave, when he came across a merchant that was carrying some clothes to sell in Konoha, as there would likely be an increase in the demand of such items in the months following the destruction of the village. When Naruto saw the merchant, he dropped down out of the trees, walked up to the merchant, and said, "Hey old man." The merchant said, "I'm not old, I'm only 27. Naruto said, "Sorry, I call anyone over 25 old man." The merchant said, "Nevertheless, it's inconceivably rude." Naruto said, "Okay, well then, I was about to ask if you could sell me some clothes." The merchant said, "Well, I suppose you do look like a walking target as it is, so I suppose I could sell you some." Naruto said, "Well, I don't have much money on me at the moment, although is it safe to assume that you're headed to Konoha?" The merchant said, "Yes it is." "Why?" Naruto said, "Well then, you can just ask Tsunade to pay for the clothes then." The merchant said, "I highly doubt that." Naruto said, "Just tell her that Naruto sends his regards and you'll get your payment." The merchant said, "I don't know what it is but I seem to believe you for some reason." "Oh well, okay, I'll ask her then. So, what do you want?" Naruto said, "Well, I'd like a jounin uniform in green and a traveling cloak in brown please." The merchant said, "Okay, very well, now then, green, here we are." He gave the uniform to Naruto and continued on saying, "Now then, the cloak, here we are." The merchant turned back to Naruto once again and said, "There you go, now, to get back on my way to Konoha." Naruto said, "Thanks." The merchant said, "No problem." The merchant then turned around and got back to what he was doing prior to running into Naruto. Naruto on the other hand went back to walking in the direction of the Wave Country. At the same time with Team Taka, Suigetsu was asking Sasuke, "So then, what's the plan for when we get to Konoha?" Sasuke said, "Well, first of all, we want to avoid fighting as much as possible." Suigetsu said, "But that's so boring." Sasuke said, "Nevertheless, we want to kill only those that are absolutely necessary." Jugo asked, "And who would that be?" Sasuke said, "Danzo, anyone en route." And knowing Naruto, he has probably gotten Sai to a point that he would be able to question Danzo's motives and actions in just about anything. So if possible I'd like to leave him out of this, so don't kill him. No civilians are to be killed, nor are a pink-haired kunoichi, Tsunade, a kunoichi that has brown hair tied in 2 buns, Niji Hyuga, Hinata Hyuga, any Yamanaka, Akamichi or any Nara. Also there are likely 2 people in disgusting green jumpsuits. Do not under any circumstance engage them. Also there's Kakashi, the Inuzukas and the Aburames. If any of the people that I just mentioned die, the person that killed them will find themselves no longer among the living." Sasuke turned to Suigetsu and said, "Is that understood?" Suigetsu said, Yeah, I got it." Sasuke said, "Good, now then let's go destroy Root." Karen said, Sasuke, my skills aren't conducive to fighting, so what should I do?" Sasuke said, "Well, according to Naruto's information, Sakura, Shizen, Tsunade and none of the other people that I graduated from the academy with have no reason to like Danzo and many reasons to hate him. I think that you should go and talk to Sakura about what we are going to do. Who knows, we might even get some allies in our fight against Root." Karen said, "Alright, where do you think that they would be exactly?" Sasuke said, "Naruto said that Sakura was a medic, didn't he?" Karen said, "Yeah, so check the medical station first." Sasuke said, "Yes." Jugo said, "So, what am I doing?" Sasuke said, "You're going with Suigetsu, and whoever Karen can get to help, to destroy Root, while I go after Danzo." Jugo said, "Very well." Sasuke said, "Karen, you'll have to go in first alone." Suigetsu asked why? Sasuke said, "Because 1 person will attract less attention than 4. Plus the guards at the entrance of Konoha will likely know what I look like, and also, you're carrying Zabuza's sword, and Jugo." Sasuke turned to Jugo and said, "No offense but you're just as likely to go on a rampage as you are not to." Jugo said, "None taken. I'm well aware of my condition and your decision is the correct one." Sasuke said, "After we are done here you might even be able to convince Tsunade or Sakura to try to make some medicine to take care of your condition for you." As Sasuke was saying this, the destroyed gates of Konoha came into view. Chapter 3, Konoha, Wave Country. Naruto was standing in front of the Great Naruto Bridge and thought to himself, well, here I am, back where everything really started for me. And for Team 7 he then started to cross to the other side of the bridge, and when he was halfway across the bridge he had a flashback to his fight against Haku and thought to himself, well Haku, It looks like all of my precious people are lost to me now. He then continued across the bridge until he got to the other side. When he arrived at the township, the sight that greeted him astonished him so much that for the first time in his life the loudest knuckle-headed ninja was speechless, whereas the previous time that Naruto was in this village it had been made up of only ramshackle buildings and was severely poverty-stricken. This time all of the buildings had been repaired and the prices of food had been decreased dramatically. Naruto walked up to the nearest street vendor and asked him, where is Tazuna's house? The vendor said it's near the docks. Naruto said, any particular one? The vendor said, "Nye. Alright, guess I'll just have to ask around at the docks then, thanks for your help." The vendor said nothing and Naruto headed off to the docks. 20 minutes later Naruto arrived at the docks and started looking for the house that he remembered from all those years ago. When he couldn't find it, he started looking for anyone around the docks that could help him find the house that he was looking for. Eventually Naruto saw someone messing about with what he assumed was the man's boat and said, "Hey, you wouldn't happen to know where Tazuna's house is, would you?" The man said, "Yeah. It's the fifth one in the direction that you just came from." Naruto thanked the man and left to go to the house that the man had directed him to and knocked on the door. 30 seconds later Tsunami opened the door, and in an annoyed tone said, "What do you want to sell me this time?" Naruto had a drop of sweat appear on the side of his face and said, "I know that it's been a few years, Tsunami-san, but surely you recognize me? Well, come to think of it, you do seem to resemble that blonde gaki that helped us out a few years ago." At Tsunami's reply Naruto got a depressed look on his face and said, "Tsunami-san." Tsunami interrupted saying, "Yes?" Naruto continued, "Would it be possible for me to stay here for about a week and a half?" Tsunami answered, "Sure. After all you ninjas from Konoha did for us at that time." Tsunami then looked at his face and continued on to say, "What happened?" Naruto said, "I got exiled." Tsunami, realizing the implications and taking what she saw of Naruto's nature from all those years ago into account, said, "Come inside." Quickly when they got inside they went to the main family room and Tsunami asked, "Have you been introduced to the wonder that is Sake?" The next morning as Naruto woke up at the table that he had passed out on the previous night he groaned out, "Am I dead?" Tsunami woke up hearing his question and replied, "No, but I wish I was. How about you?" Naruto said, "No, I'm definitely dead. If I wasn't then I wouldn't have this splitting headache." Tsunami said, "That'd be because we drank 6 bottles of sake last night each." Naruto chuckled and said, "Oh yeah, I forgot." Tsunami replied in a deadpan voice, "That'd be because of the sake as well." Naruto said, "Well then, I think that it's time to go visit Zabuza now." Tsunami more stated than asked, "So that's why you came here then?" Naruto said, "Yeah, why?" Tsunami said in a hurt tone, "So you didn't just come to see me then?" Naruto shocked started saying, I huh? Tsunami said, "Just joking with you," and started laughing sheepishly. Naruto said, "Well then, see you later." Tsunami said, "I'll be right here." Naruto then turned around and waved at her as he was walking off. When Naruto was walking off Tsunami thought to herself, "Damn, he really has grown up. I wonder what he's like." Tsunami shook her head and said, "Where the hell did that come from?" "Ah well," and then she walked back inside her house. 20 minutes later when Naruto arrived at the gravesite of Haku and Zabuza, Naruto saw 2 people already standing before their graves and Naruto called out, "Hey there Kakashi, I see you brought Hinata along with you. How are you doing?" Hinata said, "Hello Naruto-kun." Kakashi smiled, and said yo in his usual lazy voice and made a flimsy salute using 2 of his fingers and flicking them away from his forehead. Naruto said, "You got my message then?" Kakashi said, "We're here aren't we?" Naruto said to himself, "Yeah." Kakashi asked, "So, what do you want to tell me that you couldn't tell Shikamaru?" Naruto said, "A few things, but I think that here isn't the best place to talk about this." Kakashi said, "Well, where would be a good place then?" Naruto replied, "How about our old staging grounds?" Kakashi asked, "Are you sure that they'd be alright with our staying there again?" Naruto said, "Yeah. Tsunami's fine with it. After all, we did spend all of yesterday getting drunk." Kakashi thought to himself, he's taking this even harder than Jiraiya Sama's death. He then said, "Well then, let's go." With that they all shunshed into Tsunami's house. When they arrived Naruto said, "If you'd like to come with me round the back, I want to summon one of the toads." Kakashi asked one of the toads, "What do you want them for?" Naruto said, "You'll see." When they got to the backyard Naruto bit his thumb and went through some hand signs and called out Kuchios no Jutsu, and then slammed his hands down on the ground. After the smoke cleared the gathered people, Tsunami had heard them talking and had come out to see what was going on. Gamakichi raised his arm in greeting and said, "Hey, what's up Naruto?" Naruto replied, "Hi Gamakichi. I don't suppose you'd mind putting in a request for another sage cloak for me, would you?" Upon hearing Naruto's reason for summoning the toad, Kakashi and Hinata both had a drop of sweat appear on the side of their heads, whereas Tsunami fainted when she heard Gamakichi talk. Gamakichi said, "Sure, just give me about 4 hours to get it made and then summon me again. By the way, just out of curiosity, why didn't you summon Gamatatsu this time?" Naruto said, "A couple of reasons really, but mostly because Gamatatsu is way too expensive." Gamakichi laughed at this statement, and said, "Well then, see ya," and disappeared in a puff of smoke. After the smoke had cleared Naruto turned to Kakashi and Hinata and said, "Well now then, where were we?" Kakashi said, "You were going to explain your message to Shikamaru." Naruto exclaimed, "Oh yeah, well you see it's about when I transformed into the fox during my fight with Pain." Hinata blushed at the memory of her actions prior to Naruto's transformation, whereas Kakashi merely asked, "What about it?" Naruto replied, "Well, apparently the Yondaime set the seal up so that if 8 tails showed up he would appear in my conscious mind." Kakashi said, "Really?" Naruto said, "Yes, so, how long have you known that I was his son?" "Sensei talked about you all the time prior to your birth, given that plus the time of your birth and Sensei's death." not to mention the fact that you look just like him. Even a half-wit could figure it out. Naruto said yes. Well, other than that, he also revealed that one of the members of Akatsuki was behind the attack on Konoha all those years ago. Kakashi, stunned, could only say really? Naruto replied yes. Not only that though, apparently it was someone called Uchiha Madara, although he's currently going by the name Tobi now. Kakashi said that's not good. Naruto said no it's not, especially when by now Sasuke has probably reached Konoha. Kakashi gravely asked Naruto, and exactly how do you know this? Naruto replied, I ran into Team Taka on my way here after I left Shikamaru. Kakashi asked, did you tell him about the current situation in Konoha? Naruto answered yeah. Hinata almost angrily exclaimed, Naruto, Kun. Kakashi asked, what did you tell him? Naruto evasively said nothing he probably didn't know already, or wouldn't have found out upon arrival. Kakashi prompted, such as? Naruto started marking points off with the fingers of one hand and started saying that you. Naruto looked at Kakashi and then continued, Sakura and Shikamaru were probably the 3 strongest ninja in Konoha at the moment. Naruto assumed a thinking pose and then continued, I believe I also mentioned something about you probably coming after me as well. Oh yes. Naruto marked another point off on his hand. I also told him that Danzo and all of his Root members were hiding underground while the rest of Konoha was destroyed. Kakashi's eyes widened and then exclaimed, what? Hinata, stunned at Naruto's action, said be you. But Naruto, Kun, that sort of information is only useful for when you're planning an attack of some sort. Kakashi stated exactly. Hinata, Naruto is right. Sasuke would already know most of what he told him, but this thing with Danzo is what has me in a bind. Naruto said, so, Danzo is holding the powers of the Hokage then? Kakashi sighed and said he's trying to. He submitted a request to the Fire Lord and High Council to have Tsunade removed as Hokage. Naruto said, well, I'd say that events are turning out better for Konoha then. Hinata, angry at Naruto's apparent callousness, yelled out, how exactly do you figure that, Naruto? Naruto said, geez, Hinata-chan, you're almost as scary as Sakura. Chan is when she's angry anyway. What I meant was, now that you, Kakashi, are here talking to me while Sasuke, who killed Orochimaru, is going to Konoha to kill that bastard Danzo. Kakashi said, I know that he sent Sai on a mission to assassinate Sasuke. But aren't you being a little too hard on Danzo? Naruto in explanation asked Kakashi, did you know that Danzo orchestrated the extermination of the Uchiha clan? Kakashi said, but no, that's impossible, Danzo couldn't give. Naruto interrupted Kakashi, saying unless there was unanimous agreement by the other council members. Kakashi said, but surely the third would have. Naruto said, if unanimous, the Hokage's advisors can overturn one of the Hokage's decisions. Luckily, usually the council is divided over many matters of policy. Unfortunately, the current council members were all on the same team as each other as Genin. Anyway, all of that aside, the fact is that Danzo gave Itachi an order to massacre the entire Uchiha clan. Kakashi said, I didn't know any of that. Wait a minute, I thought that Sasuke was a part of Akatsuki. Now if that's so, why didn't he take you to get the 9 tails extracted? Naruto said, knowing him, he was probably just using them to test something. Kakashi said, more to himself than to anyone else gathered. I wonder. Naruto asked, wonder what? Kakashi said, I wonder if Sasuke has somehow activated his Manjiku's Sharingan. Naruto said, well, that would explain that little mystery then. Hinata asked Naruto, what mystery? Naruto said of why he was carrying Itachi's eyes around with him. Now I can get you back to Konoha really quickly if you want me to. Or you could wait here for a few days then head back. Kakashi said, well, with the current information that we now have, I think that we should evacuate what's left of Konoha. Naruto hesitantly said, don't you think that that's a little extreme? Kakashi, interested, asked, well, what would you suggest? Well, quite frankly, I don't think that there's anything to worry about, Naruto replied. Kakashi frowned in confusion and asked, what do you mean? Naruto said, well, from what I gather, Sasuke's only targets are Danzo and the Root division of A and BU. Therefore the rest of the population should be alright. Also, due to the recent struggle against pain, everyone would be too exhausted to put up much of a resistance anyway. Kakashi said, well, that's very true. Naruto said, well, now that that's settled, as to the reason that I called you here. Hinata said, yes. Naruto said, I'll be staying in the sand village for a while. Kakashi said, surely you're not going to become a sand ninja? Naruto scoffed and said, after what they did to Gaara. No way. I did however hear that they have a number of wind masters there. Hinata, who had calmed down, started stuttering, WH, what then? And Naruto, Kun. Naruto said, I'm not entirely sure what I'll do after that. Kakashi said, well, before we left Tsunade, Sama said that your father kept a house near Kirigakure. Maybe the house is still under your family name. Naruto said to Kakashi, thanks. I think I might just check it out. While Naruto was talking, he thought to himself, damn, that Tsunade. She knows me too well. That means that she probably knows what I'm planning to do then. Oh well, at least she doesn't know about Karen. Oh damn. I'd better send them a message telling them not to talk about what Karen is doing anywhere near the others. Naruto continued on to say, well then, what are you going to do? Kakashi answered, well, we were sent here under the pretense of informing the Wave Country of the current situation, and hopefully enlisting their help in the reconstruction of Konoha. As the main representative of the village is not here, we have yet to complete the assigned mission. Therefore we have no choice but to wait until Tazuna returns. As Kakashi was finishing, Tsunami came outside and said, my father will not be back for about a week, I'm afraid. Well then, there we go, we can stay here for a week. Anymore and we'll have to leave, I'm sorry to say, Kakashi said. Naruto said, that's more than enough time. Chapter 4, Konoha, a new element. After hearing Naruto talking about there being plenty of time, he felt compelled to ask, plenty of time for what exactly? Naruto said, why, for learning another elemental manipulation type. Kakashi, stunned at what Naruto was talking about, said WWH what? Naruto said if I'm going to become even stronger I'm going to need to know how to manipulate more than one element. Aren't I Kakashi? The last part of Naruto's monologue was said more as a statement than a question. Kakashi replied, well yeah, I suppose so. Naruto said, or are you going to hold me back even more than you did when I was 12? Kakashi said, now, what is that supposed to mean? Naruto said, you were well aware that Sasuke could use elemental manipulation even before we left the academy. Granted, that was likely taught to him by his family. That does however not excuse you giving him yet another type prior to even teaching Sakura or I about it. Kakashi said, now that's not. Naruto said, you're damn right, it's not fair. Sasuke had his family to teach him, yet I had no one. Kakashi said, now Naruto, you weren't ready to learn about Elam. Naruto interrupted again, yet Sasuke was ready to have two. Kakashi couldn't say anything to that, looked at the ground and said, if I had known how things would. Naruto scoffed and said, hindsight's a bitch. How nevertheless, those events did happen and all we can do now is soldier on, as it were. Kakashi said, so, what do you want? Naruto said, teach Hinata and I about water manipulation. After all, there is enough of it here. Hinata said, I really don't then. Naruto interrupted Hinata saying, you can't just rely on the Byakugan and Juken. Hinata said, BBU, but traditionally Hyugas are only meant to use. Naruto angrily said, screw tradition, didn't that Chunin exam all those years ago teach you that? Number 1. Tradition will only hold progress back. Number 2. That Juken has at least 2 weaknesses? Hinata looked anywhere but at Naruto and said, sorry Aya. Naruto, infinitely calmer, said, don't apologize, I shouldn't have snapped at you like that. Naruto sighed and continued, surely you've noticed that the Juken is very chakra intensive. Not only that, they'll activate your Byakugan. Hinata. After Hinata had activated her Kekkeigenkai, Naruto stood up and started forming some hand seals. When Naruto had completed the sequence, he said, Kage Bunshin. Hinata was shocked to see that the clone Naruto had created had its own chakra coil system. When Naruto said, I'm not sure about Kakashi-sensei's Mizu or Rashin Bunshins, but it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that they also have a chakra coil system. Hinata said, I didn't know that it would be that easy to fool the Byakugan. Neither did Niji, he also got caught up in that whole tradition crap as well, Naruto said. Hinata turned to Kakashi and asked, why would you help me in this area, Kakashi-san? Kakashi said, sure. I don't see why not. After all, I managed to teach this fool. As Kakashi was saying this, he indicated Naruto, then continued, in front of us the intricacies of elemental manipulation, so you should be no problem. Naruto said, geez, thanks for that. Kakashi said, well, we can't let you beating pain go to your head now then, can we? Naruto, almost thoughtfully while scratching the back of his head, said, hey, guess not, huh? Well then, do we start now or wait till Gamakichi gets back with that cloak I ordered? Kakashi and Hinata suddenly had a sweat drop appear on the side of their heads at the blonde's question, and Kakashi said, well, we all know that you're up for training anytime, so that leaves the decision in Hinata's hands. Hinata said, why don't we start right away then? Kakashi said, very well then, let's get started on water manipulation then. Naruto, you might have an easier time with water because your mother was from the hidden whirlpool village and had a very strong water affinity, whereas Hinata's mother, who was from Konoha, had an equally strong fire type affinity. That said, water may be more suited for Hinata, whom Kurenai has told me has had trouble with fire. Naruto said, so, we getting started or what? Kakashi said, yes, I'm just going over some background for the both of you. They then walked over to the lake and walked out on the water when Kakashi continued, right. The first step to water manipulation is to make the water that you are standing on to move in a desired direction. Naruto hesitatingly said, Kakashi-sensei, can you please give us a demonstration? Kakashi said, sure thing. Kakashi then proceeded to move his hands into a similar position to how they were when he was teaching the original Team 7 to walk up trees using their chakra. When Naruto asked, can you please wait a second? Kakashi smiled and said, sure. Okay. At the same time he was thinking, he sure has changed. Naruto in the meantime had started drawing upon the natural energy that he now had access to. When Kakashi said, that will probably speed up your training. That said though, will you be able to do it without your sage mode afterwards? Naruto answered, well, it's not like the Byakugan or Sharingan, it enhances all of the senses, my body, and allows me to see how nature moves, so to speak, so I won't actually be seeing what you do, but the effects of it. Kakashi, trying to get his head around what Naruto said, asked, so, you see the effect of what I do and then try to recreate it? Naruto nodded at Kakashi's breakdown of his plan, and then Kakashi continued, sounds like you in a nutshell, huh? Naruto looked confused at what Kakashi said, so Kakashi said, never mind. Naruto turned to Hinata and said, you should use your Byakugan. Hinata said, but it's not like the Sharingan, it can't copy techniques. Naruto said, don't worry about it, with my sage mode and your Byakugan we should be able to have water manipulation down before the day is out. Hinata looked down and said, but isn't that like cheating, Naruto-kun? Naruto placed his hand under her chin, lifted her head up with his index finger, and said, we're ninja Hinata and this'll make us stronger. Besides, if this is cheating, then what is Kakashi-sensei's Sharingan? Hinata said, well, when you put it like that. Hinata with fierce determination placed her hands in a seal and said, Byakugan. Naruto turned to Kakashi and said, okay, Kakashi-sensei, we're ready. Kakashi said, alright. Kakashi then placed his hands in the position that he used to demonstrate the tree climbing training, and using his chakra created a current with the water that he was standing on. When he was done, Naruto said, okay, we'll probably be at this for a while. You might as well go back to Tsunami's house. Hinata said, but what if? Naruto interrupted Hinata saying, don't worry about it. If we need any help, I know some of the best water manipulators in the world. Hinata said, well, if that's the case, then why did you get Kakashi-sensei to show us how to do it instead? Naruto answered, well, you see, the best one I know and I don't get along too well together. Why not Naruto-kun? Normally you get along well with everyone, Hinata asked. Naruto said, well, Gamariki-san is a special case. Hinata said, special case? What do you mean, Naruto-kun? Naruto said, it's hard to explain. Hinata asked, can I meet with this Gamariki-san? You really don't want to, Naruto said. Yes, I do, Hinata adamantly replied. Naruto sighed and said, fine then. Just remember that I did warn you and am doing this extremely reluctantly. Very well were the only words that Naruto got in reply to his warning. Naruto then performed some hand seals, placed one of his hands on the ground and said Kuchiyos no Jutsu. All of a sudden Hinata saw some symbols being generated expanding from Naruto's palm. When the symbols had finished forming, a cloud of smoke appeared and the symbols vanished. Within the smoke Hinata saw a toad-shaped shadow. Out of the smoke Hinata heard a sickly sweet voice say Jirichan. Hinata turned to Naruto and asked, who's Jirichan? Naruto ignored Hinata completely and said to the toad, Gamariki-san, surely you have been told that Erosenin was killed as such. That leaves me as the sole human summoner of toads. In a gruff voice Gamariki said, oh, it's only you, Naruto. Naruto irritated said, why you? Hinata interrupted Naruto's rant before it even started by saying Naruto-kun. Naruto said, oh, right, Gamariki-san, this is Hyuga Hinata. Although I was against it, she for whatever reason wished to meet with you. Gamariki turned to face Hinata and in the same sickly sweet voice as before asked, so, Hina-chan, why did you want to meet me? Hinata replied, well, I was wondering why you and Naruto-kun don't get along very well. Gamariki said, we just don't. Naruto impatiently clapped his hands together and said, okay, now that the two of you have met, back to Suiton training. Gamariki said, Suiton training, huh? Naruto said, what of it? Gamariki said, I could really help you with that. Naruto said, I think that we can handle it without your ridiculous face around to distract us. Hinata almost questioningly said, Naruto-kun. Naruto said, what is it, Hinata-chan? Hinata replied, didn't you say that Gamariki-san is one of the most skilled Suiton users around? Naruto quickly turned around and said, I've no idea what you are talking about. Hinata said in a hurt tone, why are you lying, Naruto-kun? Gamariki's tongue came out of his mouth, and he slapped Naruto's face with it, and said love smack. Naruto said to Hinata, now do you see why we don't get along? Naruto got another love smack from Gamariki for saying such a thing. Naruto, annoyed at getting slapped around by Gamariki, drew on some natural energy, and looked at the subject of his ire, Gamariki. Naruto angrily said, Gamariki, aye, that's it. Gamariki, seeing Naruto's eyes, started shaking and hid behind Hinata, who said, Naruto-kun, why are you angry with Gamariki-san? Naruto said, you did see what he just did to me, yes? Hinata nodded. Seeing this, Naruto continued, well, every time I see this blasted frog, that happens. The last time that he was summoned we fell off a bloody cliff. Hinata turned to Gamariki and said, is that true? Gamariki nodded and Naruto said, and that love smack was the last straw, so now, I'm going to perform a frog kata on him. Gamariki quickly went through the same set of hand seals that Naruto went through before and said Kuchiyos no Jutsu. Suddenly another cloud of smoke appeared, and when it cleared, Toad was standing there. Seeing Naruto, asked, what have you summoned me for, Naruto? Naruto said, it wasn't me, it was Gamariki. Said, oh. He then turned to Gamariki and asked, why'd you call me out here, Gamariki? Gamariki, who was still hiding behind Hinata, said he was going to perform a frog kata on me. Then turned to Naruto and said, why in the world did you summon him of all toads? Naruto said it was a special request from the beautiful lady standing over there. Hinata's face reached a new shade of red, and turned to Naruto and said, isn't she the one that confessed to you during that pain fight? Naruto said, what are you talking about? Hinata fainted as she heard the two talking, and when Naruto heard a splash he turned around and saw Hinata face down in the water, screamed out. Hinata rushed over to get her up and out of the water. Naruto, now carrying Hinata bridal style, turned to and asked, say, do you think that she'd be able to sign the toad contract? Chapter 5, Konoha, Kuchiyos no Hinata? Said I don't know, wait till I call Ma out here. She has greater chakra sensing capabilities than I do. Then formed the same hand seals that Naruto and Gamariki had before and then called out Kuchiyos no Jutsu. The same process that happened before happened again, and when the smoke cleared, Ma said, who are you fighting that you need both of us out here for, Naruto? Naruto said in an apologetic tone, sorry, but I'm not the one that summoned you. Ma asked, then who did? Who had been standing behind Ma, said that would be me. Ma asked why? Naruto answered, I asked if it would be alright for Hinata here to sign your contract. Said that your chakra sensing capabilities are higher than his though. Ma said he's right, they are. That doesn't mean that he can't decide who can or cannot sign the contract on his own, however. Naruto frowned in confusion and said, then why? Interrupted and said, because, as great as her chakra capacity is, she still won't be able to call out Gamabunta or one of his brothers. Naruto asked, well, what if we got her to summon Gamakichi and Gamariki multiple times? Wouldn't that increase her chakra capacity to a high enough level to summon Gamabunta and the other toads? Ma said it's possible, but she'll need one of us to watch over her while she does it for a while. We know how you Konoha ninjas can be in regards to training. Naruto said, I'm sure that she'll be fine with that for now though. I think that she needs some sleep. After Naruto had left, Ma turned to Gamariki and said, and just exactly what did you do to her? Gamariki said, it wasn't me this time. I swear it was Pa that did it. Ma looked at Pa and said, okay then, what did you do to her? Pa said well, Naruto called her a beautiful lady which caused her to imitate a tomato, and then I asked Naruto isn't she the one that confessed to you during the pain fight, and then she fainted. Ma said say, figures, I bet Naruto had no idea what you were talking about though, did he? Pa scratched the back of his head and sheepishly said yeah. Ma said alright then time to leave. All three toads then disappeared into a cloud of smoke. Back at Tsunami's house Naruto had arrived with Hinata's unconscious body and Kakashi asked in his lazy tone Naruto what did you do to her? Naruto replied it wasn't me, it was Pa. Naruto your father's dead Kakashi stated in a tone that someone would use when talking with a child. Naruto stammered out no, I mean the toad sage. Kakashi mollified said oh, well, that's okay then. Naruto still slightly miffed said good to know. He then turned to Tsunami and said Tsunami-san is there anywhere I can put her to rest? Why don't you use the room that you used previously? Tsunami replied. Sure thing Naruto replied and then promptly left the room with Hinata in his arms. A short time later Naruto came back out and said I've got permission from the toads to let Hinata sign their contract. Kakashi said in a knowing voice you know that she has nowhere near enough chakra to summon Gamabunta or one of his brothers, right? Naruto replied true, but what she does have is the damn near perfect chakra control that all Hyugas seem to possess. As for the chakra capacity, Ma is going to go to Konoha with you too to help her out with that. Kakashi said you've really thought this one out, haven't you? Naruto sighed and said yeah, there's also benefit of having someone other than me with the capability to summon the toads oh yeah, and we can also keep in contact with each other if something important comes up. Kakashi said well, that's true. Naruto said it also means that it'll stay in Konoha's possession for quite possibly longer than I could keep it safe on the road. Hinata, who had come out of the room that she was in just in time to hear Naruto's last words and said keep what safe Naruto-kun. Naruto replied simply the toad contract. Hinata mistaking the thought behind Naruto's statement asked what about the contract would make it dangerous. Naruto simply stated nothing but then continued on to say what I mean is, even if Konoha won't put me in their bingo book or classify me as one, I am now currently a missing nin and as such if I keep it with me then there is always the possibility of it getting stolen. Hinata said but you wouldn't let that happen, right Naruto-kun? Naruto said of course not, however, there's always a chance of it happening. Therefore there needs to be a second summoner of them. Kakashi interjected at this point saying I've already signed a contract with the nin dogs, so I can't sign the toad's contract. Naruto said well, I've already signed it, and there are only 3 ninja here at the moment. Hinata was looking between Naruto and Kakashi frantically as to see whether or not either of them was joking or they were playing a trick on her. When she saw they weren't, went up to Naruto and kissed him. When she felt him kiss back she deepened it. When they were done Naruto turned to Kakashi and said excuse us, and then they went to the room that Hinata was in before. Chapter 7 Konoha. Goodbye Naruto. Infiltrate Konoha. When Naruto woke up the next morning he felt that he was naked under the sheet that was covering him. Then for some at this point unknown reason to him, he felt a sense of something that he thought was akin to dread. As a matter of fact he had felt it only one time before in his entire life, that was when he failed to prevent Sasuke from defecting to the Sound Village. It was regret. For a moment he was unsure of the reason for the regret that he was feeling, and then he looked to his left and saw an equally naked Hyuga heir lying next to him, and suddenly he had a flashback to what they had done the previous afternoon, and well into the early hours of the current day, and groaned to himself oh no, and then continued thinking to himself no, this cannot be happening right. My only chance for any of my plans to succeed, I need to leave right now and summon Gamakichi to give Hinata the scroll and summon Ma. With a plan in mind he got out of the bed that they were in as quietly as he possibly could, got dressed and went to his temporary room to collect all of his meager possessions, and then went to the living room and summoned Gamakichi. Naruto explained the situation that he was in to Gamakichi, and then said so I'm going to leave before anyone gets up so I can slip away unnoticed. Alright. Gamakichi replied sure thing. Girl trouble sure can be tricky to get out of. Yeah, tell me about it Naruto said in a bantering type of way, then said so, while you wait here to tell them I've left. Give Hinata the contract and summon Ma. I should have at the very least have been able to get out of Wave Country. Yeah, should be easy with that Hikazushin. One, that you developed while you were with us. Naruto said in a commanding tone that he didn't use very often. I told you never to tell anyone about that. Root would have people after me to get me to teach them the secret behind it, hoping to be able to do it themselves, though only someone with a wind affinity can use it. Unfortunately for Konoha, of the 2 people that do have a primary wind affinity, one of them was killed by the Akatsuki, and the other just got banished. So to surmise the jutsu would be absolutely useless in the hands of any Konoha shinobi. Gamakichi said. That's right, well, I'd better be off now. After all, sunlight's a wasting. Yeah, see ya. Oh, right before I go, is it possible for me to have more than one summoning contract at once? Or would I have to break my contract with you first? I really wish that I could help you. Unfortunately you'd have to swing by the Myobokuzen Mountains to get that question answered. Right, see you in about a year and a half then. And with that Naruto left the residence of Tsunami and got on his way out of Wave Country. Unfortunately Kakashi was waiting outside of the house and said, where exactly do you think you're going? A face fallen, Naruto said. Away. Kakashi asked why? Because I made a terrible mistake and now Hinata might want to come with me, and I can't have it on my conscience. Naruto then thought to himself, plus I'm meeting Karen in a few months as well. Kakashi said, you know how her family is going to take it, don't you? To this Naruto said, well then, if the stiffs in the main branch of the Hyuga clan have any problems with her after this, I want you to tell them of who exactly my parents are. Oh yes, and also that I'll know about it, and come back to beat them into submission. Kakashi said you know that last little bit won't go over very well, right? Yes, that's exactly the point, Naruto replied. Kakashi said alright then, what about her then? Gamakichi'll think of something. Alright then, see ya later then. Yeah, see ya, make sure she doesn't do anything stupid for me, will ya? Sure. And with that Naruto left the wave country and headed towards Suna. Back in Konoha, Karen passed the guard at the gate claiming that she was here to comfort the ninja in their hour of need, and went to look around for the medical station. When she saw a blonde girl wearing purple, she went up to her, put her hand on her shoulder and asked her, would you happen to know where Haruno Sakura is? The blonde asked, why do you want to know where Forehead is? Karen said, who's this Forehead you're referring to? I'm asking about Haruno Sakura. Oh, I'm Karen. What's your name? Ino. And I am referring to Sakura when I say Forehead. Why? Simple, it's because her forehead is as large as a billboard. Karen had a sweat drop appear on the side of her head and said, right, okay, at any rate, I have a message for her. Okay, I'll tell her your message then. I think that it'd be better if I told her myself. Really, why is that? It's about the fox and the Black Knight. Ino, not knowing what to make of what the, in her mind, strange girl that she just met was talking about black knights and foxes. But one thing she did know was that the girl had a lot more chakra than a normal person. She moved extremely quietly, and she also moved with the gracefulness that one only finds in a ninja. With these thoughts going through her mind, one thing became abundantly clear. The girl that she was with was no Konoha kunoichi. With that in her mind, she decided to ignore her request and actually lead her to the temporary torture and interrogation headquarters. Unfortunately, all of these thoughts came to naught as the kunoichi that Karen had been seeking came around the corner of the cleared-out rubble that passed as a road. When Karen saw Sakura come around the corner, she called out, Haruno Sakura. Sakura looked up from the daze she had seemingly been in since finding out about Naruto's banishment, and said, do I know you? Karen replied, no we don't. So what do you want? Karen. Karen, alright, so you needed me for something? Yes, well, you see, recently there was a reunion of the Fox and the Black Knight. Sakura, who by being Tsunade's apprentice, had gained access to the Hokage library and subsequently learned about the sealing of the QB into Naruto, knew that the fox part of the riddle was referring to Naruto, then thought, well, if I take Naruto to be the fox, then who would be the Black Knight? Sakura, deep in thought, said to herself more than to anyone else, so he is the fox, then who would be the Black Knight? She then continued on to think about the reunion part of what Karen had said and came to the conclusion that Naruto could only be having a reunion with one person that could be described as being a Black Knight, that she could think of anyway. So she came to a decision and said, we have to take this girl to Tsunade-sama. Ino said, take her to the Hokage. But Sakura, I'm quite well aware of the fact that she's a foreign shinobi, Ino. Well, if you know, then why do you want to take her to Tsunade-sama? Because if she's telling the truth, then that means that she has recently been in contact with Naruto, and who exactly do you think the Dark Knight could be? Come on, Ino. I thought that you were a prodigy in the interrogatory arts. I am. Unfortunately, most of my skills in that area are jutsu-based or undertaken with some tools that I currently don't have access to. Karen interrupted by saying, sorry to interrupt, but shouldn't we be going to Tsunade right now? It's kind of tiring seeing a blonde arguing with someone she claims has a forehead the size of a billboard. Sakura's fists fell to her sides as she looked at the floor about a foot away from her and growled out, Ino. When Ino looked into Sakura's eyes, she saw that they were crimson in color. Seeing this, she started backing away, shaking her hands palm outwards in front of her, and said, Sakura, don't do anything foolish now. Sakura, too caught up in her rage from hearing Ino's insult coming from another's lips, gathered up all of her chakra into her fist and punched Ino halfway to Wave Country. Karen said, sorry about that, and then almost whined while covering her head with her arms, please don't hit me. Sakura smiled, laughed, and said, don't worry about it. That was just pent-up rage and frustration from everything that's happened lately. Karen said, entirely understandable. Sakura said, I'm glad someone thinks so. What do you mean by that? Oh, nothing. It's just that Ino's probably going to tell her dad about what I just did. Is he important or something? Not so much, no. Unfortunately for me, though, he is the second in command of torture and interrogation. I see. That could get a little sticky. Want to arrange some blackmail material then? Such as? Oh, our pretty little blonde having a lesbian encounter. Sakura blushed and said, I'm not sure that I. Karen smirked and said, don't worry about it. All you'll have to do is take the photos. I'll be the lead actress. Sakura said, if we do this, I don't know if you'll be able to be calm. Oh, don't worry about lil ol' me. I'll be gone in a few weeks anyway. Really, why? I'm going to meet a friend. Really? Yeah, Karen said while a small bit of saliva dripped down the side of her lip. So that kind of meeting, huh? Asked Sakura. Yeah, Karen moaned sensuously while thinking, maybe I really do have a thing for blondes. Sakura blushed at the sounds that Karen was making and the images that they were provoking in her head, and then said, I don't think that I want to blackmail her at all. So let's not dwell on such thoughts then, yeah? Hey, you're no fun. Why yes I am. Doesn't really matter right now anyway, does it? Hey, I guess not. Good, now on to the Hokage. Right, we're almost there. Almost where? The temporary headquarters of the Hokage. Really, all I can see is the Hokage monument. Yes, well, HQ is actually inside the monument. Fascinating. I know, isn't it just? Yeah, alright, you know how to climb trees without your hands, right? Of course, Karen said in a disapproving tone that indicated exactly what she thought of in her point of view, Pointless question. Sorry, I had to ask. Alright then. The two kunoichi then proceeded to run to where all of the Hokage's heads were displayed on the mountain, and went over to where the Shodaime Hokage's head was and walked to where the symbol of the leaf was on his forehead protector, and Sakura pushed the center of the spiral. When she did this, the left eye on the Nidaime's face opened up, and Sakura walked over to it, and then walked into the abscess left by its opening. When Karen saw Sakura disappear, she called out, "Sakura, wait for me," and then ran into the opening after her. When Karen arrived inside the Hokage's temporary office, she could only say, "Wow, I wasn't expecting this." What she saw that so stunned her was all of the rookie 9 minus Naruto, Hinata, Sasuke and Ino, as well as Niji, Tenten and Lee. All of them were staring right at her, and after she could talk again, raised her right hand so it was at the level of her eyes, said "Yo," and formed her raised hand into a fist with her thumb, index and middle fingers detached from the fist, and flicked her hand to the side. All of the gathered shinobi and kunoichi had a sweat drop appear on the side of their heads as a result of hearing the familiar greeting coming from the girl's mouth. When Tsunade got over her temporary disbelief, she said, "So, what did you want to see me about?" Karen said, "What I have to say is of the utmost importance and secrecy." "Is that so? I think that I should be the judge of that." Karen said to Tsunade, "It's about the red eyes and the fox." Tsunade raised an eyebrow and replied, "Really? Well, I think that you can talk freely about Naruto and Sasuke here." "Well, if you say so." Karen then looked away from Tsunade and at the other people gathered, who she was unnerved to find out were now staring intently at her. She then continued on to say, "Well, Sasuke found out that Itachi Uchiha was in actual fact ordered to massacre his clan by the upper echelons of Konoha's leadership." There were gasps of surprise by the gathered shinobi and kunoichi. Other than Tsunade seeing this, Niji asked the first question to come to his mind, "Did you know about this, Hokage-sama?" Tsunade said no. Niji asked, "Then why did you just have no reaction of surprise or shock at such an announcement?" "Because I'm just simply not at all surprised by the actions of the council." Tsunade scoffed, and continued, "They've been trying to undermine me for years, so why wouldn't they have tried to do it to Sensei too?" "I see. That still doesn't explain why they'd want the Uchiha clan exterminated though. Probably they were just reaping what they had sown." "What do you mean by that?" "Heh, I guess there's really no point in hiding it anymore. You see, when Konoha was formed, the Uchiha were just as powerful as the Senju, so naturally they would need some form of power base in the running of Konoha. So my grandfather gave them the job of military police. Basically, they monitored the goings of any shinobis that were displaying suspicious behavior, as the only people able to keep the Senju in line, as it were. Unfortunately, some among the Uchiha perceived this as a way to distance them from the running of the village, and decided to try to rebel against the leaders of Konoha. Because I was the last Senju and tested in battle, the counselors and Danzo naturally asked me to assist in the, as they put it, getting rid of a potential thorn. Naturally, I refused. That apparently had no effect on their resolve to destroy the Uchiha out of fear though. Sakura asked, "So if this was known to the Sandaime, why didn't he move to stop them?" "You need to understand, the Uchiha and Senju are the only ones with the power to absolutely control the tailed beasts. It was well known that only the Sharingan could control the Kyuubi." Shikamaru, grasping the implications, said, "So everyone in the council assumed that the Uchiha were responsible for the Kyuubi attack then?" "Exactly," replied Tsunade. "So because they were afraid that the Uchiha were going to incite a civil war, whether real or imagined, they got someone with the power necessary to take on the Sharingan Itachi?" Sakura asked. "Yes, okay girlie, you have my attention now. What else did you want to tell me?" "Oh yes, right, well, Sasuke has decided to complete his revenge and would like some assistance." Tsunade asked, "Assistance? Why?" "Because we need help with the elimination of Root." "Alright, all of you, as of now you are under Sasuke's command as team captain with the mission of the destruction of Root. I take it that Sasuke wants Danzo for himself?" Karen replied, "That would be correct." Tsunade said, "Very well then, Shikamaru, you are Sasuke's second in command." Dismissed. Karen said, "Alright, currently we're based out of just outside where the North Gate was." Shikamaru said, "Very well, follow me." All of the shinobi and kunoichi that were now officially under Sasuke's command followed Shikamaru out of the hidden office, and up to the top of the mountain, where they turned left and went down the face of the cliff where no one was able to see them. They then proceeded to where Karen had said that Sasuke and his group would be. When they got there, Shikamaru said, "Sasuke, you have been appointed team captain for this mission." "Heh, that's so good to see you again too. I'm second in command. This has been classified as a S-class mission." "Alright, Shikamaru, Naruto told me that you're one of the best strategists that the Leaf has. You'll be needing a plan to take out the underground Root base." "Alright, the way I see it is we'll need someone that has a great deal of experience with earth jutsus. That'll be you, Chuji. Sasuke, you'll take Sakura, Lee and Tenten." Sakura is a medic nin with a great deal of skill in genjutsu. Lee's taijutsu is second to none, and Tenten's skill with ranged weapons is legendary in its own right. I'll be taking the rest of your team and the others gathered here. "That's fine by me. You'll have to keep an eye on Jugo though. He has fits of uncontrollable rage that take control of him at times." "Alright, okay then. Do you know where Danzo is right now?" "I'd assume that he'd be busy trying to convince the village leaders that it's a good idea to get rid of Tsunade as Hokage." "Yeah, you're right. In which case he's probably in the council's hidden chamber, which is in a cave behind the Hokage monument cliff." "Alright, Sakura, Lee, Tenten, let's move out." Sakura, Lee and Tenten with serious faces simultaneously say hi, and they rapidly disappear into the distance. Shikamaru then turns to Suigetsu and Jugo and says, "Right, what are your individual skills?" "Well, I've got a body made of water and I use this here, Kubikiri Hocho." "Okay then, nothing special." "What was that?" "Just joking, calm down now then, Jugo. I'm the source of Orochimaru's curse mark." "I see, okay then. Jugo, you're with me, Sai and Niji as well. Kiba, Shino, Suigetsu and Chuji, you are Team 3 with Shino as team leader. Karen then spoke up and asked, I kind of promised Naruto-kun that I'd search Root's library for him, and I'm a censor. Shikamaru said, good, you're with me then alright. Do any of you know exactly where Root headquarters is? Naruto said that he felt a large chakra source under the Hokage's old office. Shikamaru said, alright then. Karen, I'd like you to double-check what Naruto reported. Very well. Karen then brought her hands together in a hand sign that had both of her index fingers pointing up, and after a second she said Naruto was right, there is indeed a large chakra source underground. Alright then, let's do this, and with that they raced up to where the Hokage Tower used to stand. Chapter 8, Konoha, Sasuke vs. Danzo. When Team 1, led by Sasuke, arrived at the opposite side of the Hokage mountain, they started looking for the entrance, which was hidden in the rock face somewhere. When Sasuke, irritated by the weight, decided to use his Sharingan to look for any small faults in the rock that could indicate an opening lay behind it. When he saw the fault lines that he was looking for, he turned his head and said, Sakura, it's about 2 meters up the rock face from where you are now. Sakura replied, right, gathered chakra into her hand and smashed the fake cliff to smithereens. Sasuke thought to himself, better not get on her bad side, and then said, right. When we get inside, your jobs are to take out the guards. Danzo is mine, understood? Sakura, Lee and Tenten simultaneously said hi, and they rushed into the tunnel with Sasuke bringing up the rear. Back where the other teams were, Shikamaru was saying Team 3 is going to go in ahead of us, and Team 2, Niji, will be our eyes inside. That's why he'll be staying with me. Kiba exclaimed, well then why isn't he with us then, if he's the eyes of the operation? Not understanding Shikamaru's reason as for placing Niji with himself instead of where he might be of greater use. Shikamaru said, we'll be in communication over the intercom units that are provided for use in the field. That said though, I'll also need to have skilled fighters with me considering that Jugo is with us. Suigetsu chose this moment to butt in as he perceived that his skills were being underestimated by saying, then why aren't I with you too then, oh illustrious strategist? Because you'll be more useful on the front lines with that massive blade of yours. Also I don't trust you. Heh, that's fair enough I guess. Good, now, if there's no more objections, Shikamaru looked around at the group gathered around him, and seeing that there wasn't going to be any, he continued, good, then Chuji, if you would please open up a pathway to these traitors' hideout. Chuji then went through a series of hand signs, called out Doton, Tsuchi Bahatai no Jutsu, slammed both of his hands on the ground, and a hole opened up that allowed 4 people to go down at once to the hidden root base. Kiba said, wow, that's pretty cool there. Chuji secretly though he was thinking to himself, maybe I was wrong to ignore elemental jutsus. Shikamaru said, right. Team 3 go down with Niji as well. Team 3 and Niji said hi, and jumped down the opened hole into the root base. When they got to the bottom, Niji brought his hands up into a seal and said Byakugan. With his Byakugan active, he saw that there was no one in a 50-meter radius from their current position. Finding this, he said over his radio, team leader, it is alright to come down now. Right, replied Shikamaru, and then he, followed by the rest of his team, jumped down into the hole. Meanwhile, back with Team 1, Sakura and Lee were taking out guards left and right before they even saw a thing, while Sasuke hung back to not only conserve his chakra for his fight with Danzo, but also to see just how much their skills had improved over the 4 years since he left Konoha. When Sasuke sensed that there were a number of chakra sources ahead, he said to his team, stop. There are a number of chakra sources ahead, it's probably Danzo and those traitorous counselors that we're here to eliminate. I'm sure I don't have to say this, but from here on out silence is not necessary, though advised. Sakura said, heh, then why'd you say it? Sasuke said to himself, more than his team, heh. Who knows? The 4 of them then slid out of the tunnel, and Sasuke used his Tsukiyomi to cast a genjutsu on the council members that made them perceive that nothing was wrong and ignore the 4 of them. Sasuke then crept up behind Danzo and shoved his Chidori sword into his chair. Unfortunately, Danzo had sensed the guard's chakra disappearing and came to the conclusion that someone must be attacking the meeting. He then proceeded to use the Sharingan that he stole from Uchiha Shursui and cast a genjutsu similar to that which Sasuke used to make them continue the meeting. While he hid near one of the walls in the chamber, he also cast it on the door so as anyone entering the room would automatically be ensnared in it. Sasuke realized, when he stabbed the chair that the Danzo that he was seeing was in, that there was no resistance that would have come with the skewering of a body, and automatically assumed that it was a genjutsu, and activated his Sharingan. Using his Sharingan, he neutralized the genjutsu so that Sakura, Lee and Tenten weren't affected by it anymore. This also had the added benefit of lifting it from the rest of the council, who quickly realized that Danzo was missing from the chair that they thought he was sitting in. Shikaku Nara, seeing this, quickly put together what had happened and said to the other council members, Danzo has used the genjutsu on us while we were having a meeting that he called for to talk about the dismissal of Tsunade as Hokage. As such, he, under Konoha law, is to be treated as a criminal against Konoha and automatically listed as a missing nin. Some of the counselors took what Shikaku said in their stride, whereas some of the others were outraged at the mere suggestion that Danzo could possibly be a traitor. Sasuke took this moment to interrupt the dissenting counselors by saying he is no noble Konoha shinobi, he has committed crime after crime against Konoha. One of the counselors stupidly said, but that was all for the good of Konoha. Sasuke in reply said, then why did he make a temporary alliance with Hanzo of the Salamander to take the position of Hokage from the Sandaime Hokage? Or more recently, someone killed the messenger frog that Naruto left here when he went to undergo his sage training. One of Danzo's supporters on the High Council said in indignation, do you have proof of such a preposterous claim? After all, The only people that had access to the toad summons were the Kyuubi brat and Jiraiya. Sasuke said, as a matter of fact I can prove it. You see, on my way to Konoha I ran into Naruto, and he gave me a scroll that will summon one of the toads here. Danzo took this moment to say how could he? Only someone greatly experienced in Fuin Jutsu could possibly create something like that. Sakura at this point chose to enter into the impromptu court by saying Naruto trained under Jiraiya for 3 years. Not only that, but his father was, after all, Namake's Minato. The gathered counselors, the daimyo and Shikaku all gasped at hearing this information, and Shikaku said, is that so? Sakura then continued, with that in mind, do you really think that Naruto would not have learned any Fuin Jutsu? Shikaku said, heh, you're right, it'd be almost an impossibility that that'd happen. After all, Fuin Jutsu is practically in his blood. Sasuke said, right. Now that you've all agreed that Naruto does have the ability to create such a scroll, Sasuke reached into his shirt and withdrew a scroll and spread it on the table that was in the center of the room. This was when the counselor that had been supporting Danzo the strongest did a few hand seals under the table. When he was done, a thin layer of fire was racing around his hand, and then quickly brought his hand up above the table and placed his hand on the scroll, causing it to incinerate. To the man's surprise, Sasuke smirked and said to Shikaku, can you please arrest this man? The counselor said, it won't matter if you arrest me or not. All of your proof just went up in flames. Sasuke said, yes, it would appear so, wouldn't it? Shikaku said, he's right, you know. Without that scroll we've got nothing. Sasuke then continued, if that was the real scroll. The man that was bound by Shikaku's cage main jutsu said, what do you mean by real scroll? Sasuke replied, simple. That was a decoy to see if any one of you counselors would try something funny. Now for the real scroll. Sasuke once again reached into his shirt and pulled out another scroll, unrolled it, drew upon some of his chakra, cut his finger, and smeared his blood over his fingers on his opposite hand, placed his hand on the scroll and said, Kichios no Jutsu. The normal summoning ritual took place, and out came Gamakichi, who, raising a hand in a mock salute, said, yo. Sakura said, hi Gamakichi, it's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, sure has. Anyway, why did you summon me, Uchiha? Sasuke replied, Naruto told me what happened prior to your arrival in Konoha, and we would like you to tell us exactly what happened, as currently that man there, Sasuke pointed at, Danzo, is on trial for crimes committed against Konoha. Almost sarcastically, Sasuke said, apparently causing the destruction of it is a pretty hefty crime. I think so, alright. At Myobokuzen there is a scroll that has the names of all of the toads that are out and about away from Myobokuzen. Seeing that the gathered shinobi were paying attention, Gamakichi continued, and the name disappear from the scroll when they get back from wherever they were. Now this is only one way that the names can disappear. There is only one other way that can happen, and that's if it gets killed. Danzo said, what if he died of natural causes? Gamakichi, insulted, said, a toad summons always goes back to Myobokuzen to die. Sasuke said, why's that? Why do you bury your dead? Sasuke said, fair enough. Okay, so how do you determine if it was Danzo or not? Sasuke said, Danzo has a pattern of behavior that doesn't allow him to trust that others know what they're doing. He also sees the Sandame's beliefs as weak. Now Tsunade, Naruto, and I all believe the same things. Danzo wouldn't want either one of us here today to speak against him. That's why he had him banished. Shikaku said, if that's true, then that'd mean that he set this whole thing up just so he could lay the blame of the destruction of Konoha Square on Tsunade Sama's shoulders. Sasuke said, not only that, but cause enough of a doubt that he would get a majority vote at this meeting. Shikaku said, heh. So Naruto saves us twice in 1 week, even if he's not here. Sakura said, heh, he had help this time though. Sasuke said, indeed he did. The daimyo said, at this point I deem that there is enough evidence to prove that Danzo is indeed guilty on all accounts. Therefore he is to be immediately executed, and all control of Root is to be handed over to the Hokage. Danzo said, you can't do that. All I've done is for the good of Konoha. Sasuke said, you can't honestly believe that, can you? Danzo said, you have no say in this, you who betrayed Konoha for power. Sasuke said, maybe not, but I will be your executioner. Sasuke turned to the daimyo and continued, if that's alright with you, my lord. The daimyo said, that's quite alright. I believe that you had business with him anyway. You're right. Sasuke then performed the necessary seals for Chidori, pointed his hand toward Danzo and said, this is for all your crimes. He then changed the shape of the Chidori that he held in his hand to a blade of lightning, and seeing it rush towards him, Danzo performed some signs and said, Futon, Kyorin no Jutsu. Seeing what Danzo had done, Sasuke activated his Manjikyu Sharingan and said, Amaterasu. Danzo immediately said, Suetun, Kasidanai Hensen Mizu no Jutsu. Hearing what Danzo called his technique, Sasuke used his double Manjikyu to control the black flames and changed the target from Danzo's chest to his head. Needless to say, Danzo didn't last very long after that. What Sasuke and the others in the room didn't notice was that the Danzo that they had been talking to for the last 20 minutes was nothing more than a clone with an illusion cast upon it that made others believe that it was the real thing. Sasuke then turned to the daimyo and asked, is this meeting over? I don't think that there's anything more that we need to discuss other than the punishment of the council member over there. Sasuke said, as far as I'm concerned, anyone in league with Danzo is my enemy. The daimyo then said, well then, I think that we can leave him in your capable hands until Marino Ibiki can put his hands on him. Sasuke said, very well. He then turned to Shikaku and said, if you'd like to come with us, I'm sure that your son would like a hand with his part in this mission. What would that be? The total elimination of Root. As long as even one of them is alive, there is always going to be a threat poised against Konoha in its very midst, and besides, do you really think that Danzo would have died that easily? Shikaku said, so you think that Danzo's still out there somewhere? Sasuke said, it would be prudent to assume as such. Very well, where is he? Sasuke replied he should be under where the Hokage's tower was. Shikaka said alright, who's team captain right now? Sasuke replied I am, your son's my second in command. Shikaka said did you ask for that arrangement? No, Tsunade ordered, although I would have chosen him myself. I see, why's that Sasuke? Sasuke replied in my talk with Naruto I asked him about the current strength of Konoha. Really? And what did he say? He said excluding him, Kakashi, Sakura, your son and some side character that I don't know are the strongest in Konoha at the moment. Is that so? Heh, that's some high praise coming from him. Hey, you're right there. By this time Shikaku and Team 1 had arrived at the hole that had been opened up by Chuji and Sasuke said right, me and Lee first, then Shikaku. After that Sakura and Tenten, you come in last of all. Sakura said aren't you underestimating me a bit? No I'm not, Lee and I are just faster than you, that's all. Sakura said as long as that's all it is. Has Sasuke said half-heartedly and then jumped down the hole. End notes. Jutsu list and translations. Doton, Tsuchi Baharia equals earth technique, earth mole. Futon, Kiora equals wind technique, chest armor. Sueton, Kusitanai Hensen Mizu equals water technique, element change water. Chapter 9, Konoha, Sasuke Lee, clear the way. When Sasuke jumped down the hall they found that he jumped in front of a swarm of root ninjas on their way to attack teams 2 and 3. Sasuke immediately activated his Sharingan and drew his sword. By this time Lee had reached the bottom of the hole and got into the beginning stance of the Gukken, and then immediately started landing blows on the throats, livers, and spleens of the root ninjas. This created enough of a distraction for Sasuke to channel lightning through his sword and start cutting the root ninjas behind them in two. The ninja 4 rows behind the original ones. Sasuke and Lee were attacking, heard the lightning coursing through Sasuke's sword and drew kunai and other weapons so as to counter an attack from Sasuke. Only a few had wind elemental chakra at their disposal, and unfortunately for the root shinobi they were towards the back, so Sasuke had no trouble cutting through the kunai and shinobi that were facing off against them. Lee on the other hand, with his lack of access to any chakra-based abilities, was faring slightly harder, as he was up against ninja that were channeling chakra through kunais. When Sasuke and Lee got past the small fries that were only using kunais and taijutsu and got to the last 3 ninjas, Sasuke quickly cut through one of them, but the second one that he tried to cut through was the one that had wind-based elemental chakra, and he had channeled it through the tanto that he was given when he joined Root. Sasuke said to his opponent, well, since you're a wind user, why don't we take this somewhere else? Sure, where do you have in mind? Well, as you undoubtedly know this place better than I do, why don't we? Sasuke at this point used the space/time jutsu to appear behind the root ninja and stabbed his sword of Kusanagi through the root ninja, who said how did and then trailed off, as Sasuke pulled his sword out of him, and then swung his sword out to the side to clear the blood off of it and then put his sword away. Lee was having some trouble with his opponent, however. The ninja that Lee was facing off against had pulled some kind of leather handle out of his flak jacket's pocket, and then, to Lee's confusion, done something to it that made it into a whip. What the ninja had done was to infuse the handle with Suetun chakra and used shape manipulation on it, so Lee started attacking with his normal Gukken and used his speed to get behind his opponent, but somehow the whip got around behind him and blocked Lee's kick. Lee then did his disappearing trick that he did with Gaara at the Chunin exams many years ago. Lee's kick got blocked again, and Lee asked the root ninja, is that some sort of an absolute defense? The ninja replied something like that. Very well, I'm Rock Lee, fight well. I know exactly who you are. How do you know that? Root agents are given a dossier on all of the weakling shinobi that serve under the Hokage. You serve under Tsunade Sama as well. No, I don't. I serve under Danzo Sama, who'll lead Konoha into greatness. No, he won't. Even if he wasn't already dead, he would only have lead this village and the fire country into ruin. Danzo Sama is a great man that would do no such thing. That is what all those in Root believe. Lee sighed, hearing the ideals that his opponent was promoting, and said, then all of you must die before I kill you, though. Could I please have your name? Why, what would you do with it even if you did know it? You are the strongest opponent that I have fought to date, with the exception of the current Kazekage. I would count myself lucky to have fought you and respect you, your name and your clan until I died. Heh, then you're just like that traitor that Hinata-sama seems to be in love with. Naruto Uzumaki is no traitor. Yes, he is. He killed 2 of Konoha's counselors. He was fighting an enemy not one of Konoha's shinobi could defeat, including Kakashi-san. That doesn't matter, the fact remains that he did. So, only results matter. Is that what you're saying? Yes. Well, you've just gone down a few notches on my respect-worthy scale. However, it hasn't changed my desire to know the name of the person that I'm going to defeat. Well, I guess I could give you my name then. It's Hyuga Naomi. Lee, shocked, said, a Hyuga? What in the world is a traitor like Danzo doing with a Hyuga in his organization? Danzo's no traitor. Sasuke came and interrupted their conversation and said, actually, as a matter of fact, he is. What would you know about Danzo-sama? Sasuke started to count off on his fingers. Well, he entered into an alliance with Hanzo of the Salamander to overthrow the Sanding. Then after that failed, he ordered the extermination of the Uchiha clan. That's just the beginning of his crimes, though. I suppose that you didn't know that when he sent this side character to kill me, he gave him a list of all of Konoha's active spies and their respective capabilities? No, you're lying. Danzo loves Konoha. Lee said no, he doesn't. He hates Konoha, or at least how it is currently run. Isn't that the birth of all leaders, the belief that they could do better than the current one? Maybe so, but there needs to be a realization that the entirety of the current system doesn't need to be changed, and certainly not into one that is ruled by fear. Danzo fears nothing. Then why? when I was carrying out the execution order given by the daimyo of the fire country, did he use 2 defensive jutsus? Sasuke asked Nanami. You're lying. Lee said no, he's not. It's merely human instinct that drives one to protect oneself. It's hardwired into our DNA. Danzo-sama trained us to have no emotions. If that's so, then why are you feeling betrayal now? I don't know. Sai, after meeting Naruto once, said I now think that bonds may be important, and I will try to understand others better. Or something along those lines. Having emotions doesn't make one weak. Having no control over them in battle may make a decision to end someone's life harder to make. But the ability to make that decision makes us human. What Danzo is doing was trying to make Konoha into is nothing more than a militarized state. No, that's not it. Sasuke said those that suffer violence young never really get over it. Trust me. If anyone knows it, it's me. Lee then said I have no desire to fight anyone from the Hyuga clan. Hyuga Niji, as you know, is on my team. Because of this I have a greater understanding of the Hyuga and their sensibilities than most. Hinata-sama is not wrong in feeling something for someone other than herself, or her clan. Maybe so, but that doesn't change the fact that I am from Root, and you have standing orders to kill everyone in the Root headquarters. Or am I wrong in that assumption? Lee said no, you're not wrong. So, we going to do this one-on-one, or are you going to have assistance from the Uchiha over there? Lee turned to Sasuke and said, Sasuke-san, if you could leave me and Nanami-san alone to settle this. Sasuke said right and went back to the opening to call Shikaku and the rest of Team 1 down. While Sasuke left to do that, Nanami got into the basic Juken stance and Lee said, so, even someone in Danzo's organization knows how to us Juken. That's right, what of it? I was wondering, are you part of the main or branch houses of Hyuga? Branch. However, Danzo has had scrolls detailing the completed form of Juken for years. Naturally I would have been given them to learn from. I see, then I don't have to hold back. Hold back? I think that you're underestimating me just a little there. I'm not. I've been fighting against Niji for years. So of course during that time I would have created a style that is effective against Juken. Rubbish. Juken is the strongest form of taijutsu in Konoha. A loser dropout like you could do no such thing. Nevertheless, I have done just that. Lee then turned so that he was facing Nanami at a 10 degrees angle and twisted his hips further around. Then he raised the closest arm to Nanami up in front of himself at a 45 degrees angle from the ground as a defense, and brought his other arm to waist height and parallel to the ground. What the hell kind of stance is that? It looks like a bastardized version of the Juken. There's no way such a thing could be stronger than the real thing. We'll just see about that fight. Well, alright, well, you're within my divination. A green circle appeared on the ground around the two combatants with all sorts of archaic seals and symbols. Nanami then rushed in towards Lee and started aiming for his tenketsu. Lee swung his defensive arm around and his Nanami's hand away from him and brought his attacking arm around to make a right hook, only to have Nanami duck under it and spin around, bringing her arm around to this time aim at his heart. Lee, however, had gone into a reverse stance than he had at the beginning of the fight, and this time he used the speed that he had gained through his studies under guide to get to the side of Nanami and aim a punch at her liver. Nanami, seeing this and also that she had no time to launch into the Kaiten that was the Hyuga's main defense against any attacks, she gathered up as much chakra as she could and forced it out of the tenketsu around her liver the same way that she would use the Kaiten. Seeing what she did, Lee said to her, a derivative of the Kaiten. Interesting. What of it? Nothing much, just that you don't seem to be as caught up in tradition as the rest of your family. That displays that you wish to be stronger than others. So what? To have the desire to become stronger requires an emotion. I don't think that you are a tool like you seem to think you are. We in Root exist as Danzo-sama's weapons. You don't believe that? Yes, I do. She suddenly got a sad expression on her face, and then continued, I have to. Why is that? Has Danzo brainwashed you into such a foolish belief? No, I have to believe it to bear the sins that I have committed in Danzo's name. I see, that means that you have access to another emotion. What emotion would that be exactly? Lee, with an empathetic expression on his face, said shame. Shame? Is that what I feel? I wouldn't know the Hyuga train their members to deny emotion so that they can devote all of their decision-making processes to logic, and nothing else. That's why I am impressed with Hinata-sama, and will abide by whatever decision she makes about me. So you'll stop this pointless fight? No, for some reason it seems that I actually want to fight you one-on-one in a fair fight. Surprisingly, that actually involves neutral ground. Very well, I would be glad to. Would it be possible for you to help us in our current mission? No, I'll sit this one out, I think. Understandable. Go to Tsunade-sama. It will be her decision of what to do with you now that you've changed sides. Wait a minute, weren't your orders to eliminate all members of Root? Yes, and the way I see it, is that since you want to fight me in a fair fight, that makes you one of Tsunade-sama's supporters, and therefore not a member of Root. Why would you betray the mission for me? It's not because I'm Hyuga, is it? I don't know, but it's certainly not because of your family. That makes two of us. Chapter 10, Konoha, not just weapons. After Lee finished his fight off with Nanami, they went out the entrance that he came from to go and meet up with Shikamaru and the rest of Team 2 at the same time Sasuke was arriving at the staging point of Team 2, and Sasuke said, right Shikamaru, what is the current situation? Team 3 has left to take out the remaining members of Root. Shikamaru replied. He then, seeing who was with him, asked, what is my father doing here? He was at the council meeting that Danzo was trying to take power from Tsunade, so I brought him here to assist you. Assist? What do you mean? Do you doubt my ability? No, you're currently responsible for the lives you have under your command, Shikamaru. Any mistake you make reflects badly on both you and me. I see. So what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be with Lee, Sakura and Tenten right now? Lee and I got separated as we took on separate opponents, so I figured that I'd be better off if I found out the current situation. Well, as I said before, Team 3 is taking care of the Root members in this base. According to the latest reports, Team 3 hasn't encountered any opponents of a level higher than low, 2, mid-level chunin. Really, for an organization like Root, I find it hard to believe that they don't have any Jounin-class ninja with them. You're right. It's inconceivable for such a thing. That's why it's likely that Team 3 merely hasn't encountered any Jounin rank ninja or the upper echelons of their command, Shikaka said. I was just getting to that, Dad. It doesn't matter who got to it first, just that you both did. Now Shikamaru, you and Team 2 will be coming with us as we head deeper into the base. I think that's a bad idea. No, I agree with Sasuke, no offense to Niji's skills as a Hyuga. But at this point it's more beneficial to have access to first-hand information, said Shikaku. Shikamaru sighed and said, fine, whatever you say, Dad. This is no time to be having a father and son fallout. Focus on the mission, for all our sakes. Okay, geez, he's getting as troublesome as Naruto. I'm not sure that I like being compared to him in such a way, thank you very much. Well, never mind then. Okay, let's move out. First of all, Niji, where are Sakura and Tenten? Sakura and Tenten are— oh no, what is it? Sasuke asked urgently. They seem to have stumbled upon those upper echelons that we were talking about. Well, I'm sure that Sakura will be fine. Niji, you were on Tenten's team. How do you think she'll fare? Unless she comes up against the ninjutsu type, she'll be fine. Fine then, I'll go to her position. Where is she now? She's down the second corridor on the left from here. Then you'll need to take the first right, then the second left, and you'll be in a large cavern. Alright, Team 2, you meet up with Lee. He'll be fine by himself, but you guys probably need him more than I will right now. Alright, then what? Niji asked. That's up to Shikamaru. Sasuke then took off, following the directions that Niji gave him. Alright, pack up and move out. I think that statement is unnecessary in this situation, Shikamaru. Niji said. I'm aware, it's just that I've always wanted to say that Team 2 then left to meet up with Lee. Tenten's opponent, just as in her first Chunin exam, used wind-natured chakra. The ninja she was fighting had his sword drawn and was holding it with both hands in front of him. In a defensive position, Tenten said, it's been a while since I fought someone with wind-natured chakra, of course. The last time was in my first Chunin exam. You look to be about my age. Were you enrolled in the exam as well? We of Root are above such petty exams, her opponent said in a rough voice. So that's why the members that I've faced so far were all so weak that it was almost funny. What? Weak? I'll show you who's weak. Oh, I'm scared, Tenten said dismissively. You should be. I use the wind element, and that is best for cutting things. Yeah, about that. Tenten trailed off, biting her thumb and smearing blood on her palm, after which she slapped her right thigh with her blood-coated hand, and a cloud of smoke appeared out of a seal that she had embedded in her pants when they were being made. When the smoke cleared, the Root member could see a scroll in her hand. Now Danzo, being the thorough person that he was, made available all of the records of Tsunade's ninja to the members of Root. The information included data about Tenten's raising twin dragons jutsu, and as such he assumed that was what the scroll she had was for, and jumped away from her, creating enough distance, in his mind, to dodge anything that she could throw at him. The scroll that Tenten withdrew, however, was not one of the scrolls that she uses for the raising twin dragons. It was in fact merely a storage scroll, albeit one that only her family knew how to make. When she placed some chakra into it, she was no longer holding the scroll as when summoning the weapon. That she did. The scroll got incinerated when the smoke surrounding the weapon in Tenten's hand dispersed. The Root member was surprised to see, not more scrolls, but a sword. The sword that she was holding looked like a normal katana, but it had a royal blue guard and hilt, and the blade was blood red. Tenten said to the opponent, meet Kirimuzan Shouten. 1. What is that? Our records don't have anything about you using a katana. I'm a weapons mistress. Of course I know how to use a sword. Tenten's opponent thought to himself, well, I still have my wind element running through mine. He then said aloud, your sword can't cut me. Or have you forgotten about my wind element? I wonder about that. Why, you, her opponent said, and then charged at her, full of rage. When he got near Tenten, she saw that was no berserker, and that his rage could only hurt him. She then let him get closer to her, and he swung flat at her, trying to cleave her in two at her neck. Tenten ducked and swung her katana at his stomach. It cut through it like a hot knife through butter, which wasn't actually a bad analogy. As soon as Tenten had separated his torso from his chest, the Root member's clothes caught on fire. The Root member started screaming, put it out, put it out. As the Root member was screaming, Sasuke arrived at the scene. Seeing the two halves of a person burning, he asked, what did you do to him? I thought that you were a weapons specialist? It's simple really. My clan is one that has specialized in weapons for centuries. Prior to the one village per nation system came into place, each clan had to acquire weapons and ways of defending oneself. Some clans, like yours and to a greater or lesser extent the Hyuga, stole techniques and weapons from other clans and enemies that they had defeated. Seeing that Sasuke was about to say something, Tenten said, trying to appease Sasuke, don't get me wrong, I'm not insulting either clan, merely using them as examples. Seeing Sasuke had calmed down, she continued, well, my clan were not only weapon specialists. Everyone in my clan needs to, at some point, make a weapon of their own and place their chakra in it while still in the forging stage. This Tenten held her sword up as my Kirimuzan Shouten, a katana that only I can use, and the only one that will be able to use it, other than me, is a direct descendant of mine. Even if I had a twin brother, he could not use it. So how'd this guy pointing at the burned Root member get burned? Sasuke asked. Simple. When we infuse our chakra into the weapon, it gains the primary elemental chakra type of the user, even if they aren't a ninjutsu type. Looks like he was worried about nothing then. Worried who? I probably shouldn't have said that. Said what, Sasuke-san? Lee asked, walking into view of Tenten and Sasuke. Nothing at all, Lee. Now we better meet up with Sakura. Lee, Tenten and Sasuke then left the area to search for Sakura. When they got to Sakura's location, they saw that Sakura had finished her fight with the Root member, and was in the process of healing a deep cut in her forearm. Sasuke asked her, "Are you okay? What do you think?" Sakura retorted angrily. Sorry." Sasuke trailed off, not having much experience apologizing. "No matter, I'm done." "Was he difficult?" Sasuke asked, referring to the ninja that Sakura was using as a seat. "Not really, he was a taijutsu specialist, like Lee." Alright, let's go help the cleanup. "We probably don't need to," Tenten said. "I agree with Tenten," Lee said enthusiastically. "While I want to have blind faith in their abilities too, I just can't help but think that they'll need help. Shikamaru and Niji are taking care of the remnants and assisting Team 3, they'll be fine." "You say so. Let's see if we can find the library in the meantime," Sasuke said. Sakura said, "I'm going to need some time to finish healing, you go ahead." Sasuke looked at Lee and said, "You stay here while she's injured, then both of you come after us." Sasuke and Tenten then left Lee and Sakura to look for the records room. 59. Chapter 11, Konoha. Sasuke of the Leaf Village. When Sasuke and Tenten came upon teams 2 and 3, they were just finishing up the last of their opponents. Sasuke walked up to Shikamaru and Niji and said, well, it would appear that Sakura and Lee were right after all." Niji, having seen Sasuke coming for quite some time due to his Byakugan, said, "It's about time that you got here." Slowpoke. Sasuke's eye twitched. "But I am curious. What were Sakura and Lee right about? That you lot didn't need any help? I see, you seem to have lost some of your ability to believe in others." "No, I believe in what I can see. I just can't have blind faith in someone that I haven't even seen for more than 3 years, especially when they were mere genin at the time. From what I remember, despite your being given leadership of this mission, you happen to be a genin even now." Sasuke scoffed and said, "I don't care about that. Now that I have finally truly avenged the Uchiha clan, I have no more desire than to revive it." "How are you planning on doing that, if you don't mind my asking?" Sasuke laughed self-deprecatingly as he said, "Who knows? I haven't really thought about that yet. For the past 8 years I guess I've been so focused on the past that I haven't really given much thought to the future. Well, I guess that the first thing to do now is to report to the Hokage the success of this mission, but before we do that I would like to know something from you." "Yes? Do you know of a Hyuga Nanami?" "Nanami? Yeah, Lee fought her. It would appear that he somehow inherited some of Naruto's powers of persuasion." "Well, if I remember right, Hinata and I are distantly related to a Nanami, but we haven't really talked or even seen each other since before we entered the academy." "Well, it would appear that you will be being reunited pretty soon." Lee fought her, and somehow convinced her that she wasn't truly as devoted to the Root shinobi's ideals as she thought she was, and is now ready to speak to Tsunade about her role in Root and the possibility of rejoining the normal Konoha military forces. Chuji, overhearing the conversation going on between Niji and Sasuke, said, "You know, if you're going to be rejoining Konoha, you're going to have to get used to showing the Hokage the proper respect." Sasuke asked the ever-intelligent, "Huh?" Before saying, "If you're referring to me calling the Hokage by her first name, the Senju and the Uchiha have a long history together." Seeing Chuji about to speak, Niji stopped him and asked, "A history?" "Yes, originally the Senju and the Uchiha were one family, but there was a schism of sorts and we separated into 2 distinct clans, ones with a long history of conflicting ideals." Shikamaru said, "Wait, that means that..." Shikaku finished the sentence that his son couldn't finish. "Sasuke's related to the Hokage." "No, more than one in fact." He then turned to Sasuke and said, "Sasuke, you are aware that you cannot, under any circumstances, let that fact be known." "Not yet anyway." "Huh? Why is that?" "Because with the destruction of the village that has just occurred, Tsunade's seat of power, not to mention Konoha's status in general, is uncertain. Any relationship between the two of you, no matter how minuscule it may be, must be kept secret. Some of the people on the civilian council have never really supported Tsunade's appointment as Hokage. Now with this, you think that they tried to use me as a rallying point to overthrow the current Hokage?" "Yeah, well, it'd take a lot to convince me to take the position of Kage." Shikaku said, "I'd hope so. As you can probably imagine, some of your actions haven't exactly endeared you to the shinobi of Konoha." Before thinking, although, with how the world is now, it might not be such a bad idea after all. His name is being heralded as the man who took down 2 of the Akatsuki by himself. The only other ones to be able to claim such a feat would be my son." Shikaku looked at Shikamaru lying on the floor, who would claim it as being too troublesome and destroy Konoha from within, or Naruto, who we've just banished. Even Tsunade-sama was unable to fight against Akatsuki, let alone any of the rest of us. "So if we're all done here, then I think that we should go and report what has happened to the Hokage." He then turned to Karen and asked, "Are you coming with us now, or are you going to stay and search for a bit longer?" "No," Karen replied, "I'll stay here and keep on searching for the library." "Alright, Shino, I want you to stay here with her. Assist her in any way that you can." "Very well," Shino said as the rest of them left the way that they had come. 10 minutes later, the shinobi that took down Root were before Tsunade once again. Sasuke at the front of the group. Tsunade asked, "So, by all of your presence I take it that all went well then?" "Indeed it did," Sasuke replied. "I see." Tsunade sighed. "Well, That's one headache taken care of. Now there's the rebuilding to be taken care of. We'll probably need to increase security while we're rebuilding, so that another incident like the one with Geno. Geno? Alright, you had already left when that happened, hadn't you? There was a ninja from Kajiro village that decided to blow up Konoha before he died. Although we got lucky that time and Naruto changed his mind alright. All but Shikamaru and Sasuke are dismissed. All of the shinobi, save Sasuke, Shikamaru and Tsunade Shizen, left the room, leaving only the 4 of them remaining. Shikamaru asked, "Why did you want us to stay here, Tsunade-sama?" "Because there's something that we need to discuss before any decisions are made concerning Sasuke's future as a shinobi of Konoha. Sasuke asked, "What would that be?" "It would appear that there is a rumor going around that you, on the behalf of the Akatsuki, captured the Hachibi Jinchuriki." "Ah, that," Sasuke said. "The Hachibi switched places with a piece of a tentacle that I cut off. For all I know, the Hachibi Jinchuriki gallivanting around with someone to improve his ridiculous rhymes." "I see. Well then there's no problem. I will however need you to go with a team of my choosing to Kumogakure to explain this to the Reikage." "The Reikage?" "Yes, apparently the Jinchuriki that you captured is the brother of the Reikage. Right now the team that he trained is here trying to demand that we hand over everything that we know about you and your skills. Of course there's no way that I would hand them anything of the sort, especially now that you've returned. That bastard Danzo probably would have handed them over without a second thought. A shinobi is meant to shelve their emotions to make the correct decisions in any given situation. A rather textbook answer, and one that both Naruto and I find particularly difficult to adhere to. I know that's why I'm going to have Shikaku and Guy accompanying you on your little trip to Kumogakure." "I see. Very well. I'll do whatever is necessary within reason, of course, to ensure that the Reikage knows exactly what happened, and to keep out of the affairs of Konoha." "Alright, just run your ideas by Shikaku before acting upon them, as within reason can mean a lot of different things to different people." "Very well, will that be all?" "Yes." "Oh, by the way," Shikamaru said. "Yes?" Sasuke replied. "When we're making the blueprints for the new village, do you want us to rebuild the Uchiha clan compound?" "I don't really care." "Alright then, later." "Yeah, see ya." What if Konoha regrets banishing Naruto from the academy? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.